Welcome to r/slash Entitled Parents, and unfortunately I'm still a little bit sick today, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds weird, but hopefully I'll be back to normal soon. Our next Reddit post is from Stalin Did Nothing Wrong. Just for background, I'm a half-black woman who grew up in a ghetto and worked freaking hard through high school to earn a scholarship and full ride through college. I now work a very decent job and make a reasonable amount of money, which I'm not afraid to show off. Though I do maintain my ghetto heritage. Naturally, racism is a touchy subject for me. So here I am minding my own business in a local coffee place, answering some emails on my new Samsung Note 10. Day off, so I'm not dressed particularly well. Hoodie, sweatpants, you know the deal. Enter the cast. Entitled mother, generally snooty looking, like she was trying really hard to look wealthy, but nothing she had on was actually valuable. Obviously fake jewelry, etc. Entitled kid, maybe 12 to 13, large, positive he had some kind of autism or Asperger's due to his general mannerisms and, well, screeching. I noticed that entitled mom and entitled kid are staring at me. Not a big deal, especially since this is an upper class area and I'm, well, me with my demeanor. Eventually, entitled mother and entitled kid walk over to me and entitled mother says, "You, where did you get that?" I bought it? How? How do you think? People like you can't afford phones like that. You must have stolen it. At this point, I'm sort of in shock and speechless. She follows up with, "I should report you to the police, but I'm willing to let this go if you hand the phone over to my precious baby son now." Why would I do that? Because you stole it and don't deserve it. You're not getting my phone. At this point, the manager slash supervisor slash assertive staff member, I'm not sure, but I'm calling him manager from here, walks over after noticing the situation and tries to calm everyone down. "Ma'am, I need you to keep it down. This is a coffee shop." "This woman called me a jerk after stealing my son's phone." "Wait, what?" "I want a full refund, my phone back, and some compensation." "Ma'am, you need to give her the phone back, or I'm calling the police." "But it's my phone." "That's my son's phone, you jerk." "Ma'am, that's clearly not your phone. I'll call the police if you don't give the phone back." At this point, entitled kid is screeching. I can't really make out what he's saying, but he's reaching for my phone. Having dealt with racism all my life, I began to go off at all three of them, so naturally, police were called. The police immediately apprehended me, and only me, and confiscated my phone. They also took entitled mother, entitled kid, and manager statements before taking mine last. All three of them told the cops an exaggerated version of events. At this point, you'd have thought I was some homeless black person who just mugged a 13-year-old if you believed the story they told. I gave them my statement and told them I would refuse to cooperate any further until they checked the security footage. The coffee shop refused to let them check since, as far as they were concerned, it was clear I was a thief and I'd been apprehended, so what's the point? Eventually, the security footage was checked after several minutes of convincing, and everything became very awkward after that. The police awkwardly apologized and even went out of their way to say, "We weren't working on racial stereotypes, just responding to the scene that was reported." None of the coffee shop staff actually said anything to me once I was apprehended. Guess I'm not going back there now. Entitled kid never stopped screeching, even as I left after being released from police. Entitled mother seemed completely unfazed by the security footage, continuing to claim that I must have stolen it from someone else because my type can't afford those phones. So that was another day off ruined by entitled parents and racial profiling. I wish I could say I was surprised by the absolute gall of that woman, but to be honest, I've experienced so many of these situations, nothing surprises me anymore. Our next Reddit post is from Frensk. I attended an adult-only wedding for a coworker a few days ago. The actual ceremony was in a very small church, so it was mostly family and close friends, but the reception was for roughly 250 people. The reception was at a very elegant hotel ballroom. Not child-friendly in any way. Crystal stemware, expensive linens on the table, etc. About half an hour into the reception, a commotion started that made everyone stare. Entitled mother is arguing with the wedding planner loudly. Me, being the nosy broad that I am, inch closer to her. Turns out, entitled mother brought her 4 young children to the reception, even though the invitations clearly stated adults only. The entitled mother insisted that her kids, I'm guessing at ages, but the oldest one looked 8-ish and the youngest was under a year old, were super well behaved, so it was fine. Now, keep in mind this was around 7:30 p.m. The wedding planner was having none of it. She insisted that children were not allowed and she had to leave. In a last-ditch effort to get admitted, entitled mother shouted at the bride. The bride went over and listened to her for a moment and then said in a syrupy, sweet voice, "Of course you can come in, entitled mother, but your children can't." She turned on her heel and went back to her new husband. Entitled mother flipped a nut, yelling about how she was invited, couldn't find a babysitter, etc. 3 of the groomsmen escorted her and her kids to the door. The best thing about this is that entitled mother probably bought custom tuxedos and dresses for all of her little kids, so she's probably out a few $100 for this. Our next Reddit post is from Lucario Girl. Okay, for a bit of backstory, I have a disability to where I can walk, but not far without excruciating pain. I went to Disney with my family over the summer. It was very fun until halfway through our trip, enter entitled parent and entitled kid. My family and I were on vacation in Disney World for a week. We were having a wonderful time until Wednesday. We were at Animal Kingdom and in line for Cali River Rapids. Enter entitled parent, entitled kid, and poor dad. All of a sudden, entitled parent starts talking nonsense. "Hi, can my son please borrow your wheelchair to sit in?" My mom says, "I'm sorry, our daughter has to sit there. She can't walk well and it'll hurt her to walk." "It's not that far. She can walk it off." "If she can, then so can your son." Entitled parent isn't having it. "Just give me the gosh dang wheelchair." My sisters and I couldn't believe the utter foolishness this lady had in her. My dad says, "This is a theme park for kids. Don't swear in front of children." "I will report you to the wheelchair rental service. They will take yours away." "Go ahead. This is our wheelchair. They can't take it." Entitled parent is very upset, but doesn't speak for the duration of the wait and ride. We thought that was the end of it, but no, it gets worse. My family decided to split up because my mom and I loved roller coasters, and I haven't ridden Expedition Everest in years. We get in line, and it turns out entitled parent and entitled kid were following us. Poor dad wasn't there, so I assume he didn't want to ride the coaster. I'd say that entitled kid was maybe 6 to 7 years old, so I didn't know if it would be okay to let him ride because I would have been terrified to ride the ride at that age. Here's round 2 of this idiotic lady's rampage. "Hi again, is it okay if we go ahead of you? Poor dad is waiting for us and we have a fast pass soon." "I'm sorry, but from the way you treated us earlier, I couldn't care less if you missed your fast pass." "I need to sit in the wheelchair. My legs hurt." "Let us through now or give me the wheelchair." "Look, lady, I have to sit in this chair. He can't just sit in it with me in it." Entitled parent then pushes me out of the wheelchair and shoves her kid in it. She then tries to leave, but other guests won't allow her as they were watching this unfold. Just then, a security guard comes and assesses the situation because he heard the commotion. "What's going on here?" "These 2 people are trying to steal my wheelchair." He says to my mother, "Is this true?" "No, this woman stole our wheelchair that my daughter needs." The bystander starts telling the cops what happened. "They're lying. I rented this wheelchair out for my son who's disabled." That was the sentence that caused her to ruin her vacation. Okay, I'll have to take this woman into custody until further notice. The entitled parent, thinking she'd won. "What? But I did nothing wrong." "You just lied to an officer. This wheelchair doesn't belong to the park, so it must belong to them." Eventually, the officer and his friends asked if we wanted to press charges. We said yes, and charged her for assault. After that, my mom and I enjoyed the ride and told the rest of the family what happened. They were dumbfounded, and we still laugh to this day. Can you imagine being the judge on this case? Okay, and let me see. Next on the docket, we have a woman who tried to steal a wheelchair from a disabled child. Guilty. I don't even need to hear the trial, just guilty. Our next Reddit post is from Chains of the Helpless. I'm a locksmith by trade, and the job requires me to be up on ladders, fixing doors and locks and whatever else is broken on a door. I was working on the main entrance door to a large secondhand store. Sometimes I have to block off an entryway to fix a door, and if I do, I always try to find another option for customers to enter and exit the building. I opened an emergency exit door off to the right, maybe 10 feet away of where I was working to make sure there was a door they could use. I'm working away, minding my own business up on my ladder, listening to my audiobook on my Bluetooth headset, when entitled Karen and Child walked towards me. Excuse me, I need to get in this store. Well, this entry is out of order right now, but I need it now. You can't block the door. Yes, well, if you let me finish what I was saying. You need to move out of my way. Me, starting to get annoyed. There's a door over there. You can go in there. No, this is closer. Me, now angry. Look, stop bothering me and go over there. This is when Karen takes things to the next level, and by next level, I mean she gets arrested. Karen had none of my yelling at her. She grabs her son by the wrist, who had been standing by saying nothing, and tries to climb under my ladder while I'm on it. Her large purse caught on the side rung of my ladder and pulled it over, sending me, my tools, and the motor of the handicap operator I was working on smashing to the ground. I fell on my shoulder, breaking my collarbone and dislocating my shoulder. The motor hit the ground and shattered, and the ladder fell on her and her son. A cashier who saw the whole thing through the window rushed over to see if I was okay. I said no, something is broken, a bit in shock. Call the police and an ambulance. They arrive, and the police take statements, and I tell them I want to press charges before I was loaded up in the ambulance and taken to the hospital. The kid's father came to get the kid, who wasn't hurt thankfully, and she was taken away in handcuffs. No word yet on a court date or anything. Since then, I've been off work in pain, all because Karen wanted some second-hand junk. Update. So, a lot has happened for Karen. I'm not going into too much detail, but I'll give a short notes version. First off, I've been at home resting and healing, and my boss was way nice enough to pay me full wages when I'm off, instead of what the insurance board would have paid me. I'm very grateful to work for someone who respects and cares for his workers. As for Karen, her bail was posted last week, and she's been ordered to stay with her mother until the court date. This has become a full criminal matter. She's been charged with 1. 2 counts of assault with a weapon causing bodily harm. 2. 1 count of child endangerment. 3. 1 count of harassment and, if convicted, ordered to pay damages for all broken property. Also, she's facing 8 years in prison for all of this. Her husband has filed for divorce, and the child has been given to his father's custody, with an order she is not to see him without the supervision of a child services agent and at least 1 police officer. I want to say though, I feel really bad for Karen and her family. Karen ruined her life and tore her family apart. A little life lesson to everyone out there: just be nice to people who are trying to do their job and have a good attitude. Otherwise, you could lose everything. OP, you should sue this Karen and add that to the list of things against her. Our next Reddit post is from Cosplay Baby. Obligatory on mobile. Little backstory. I work as an actress in a haunted house. I love this job so much. I look forward to it every year. Now, we have an age limit. You have to be 18 or older to attend alone. Anyone younger must be accompanied by a parent. We really stress that anyone below the age of 16 really shouldn't go through it all. It's not meant for kids. But a lot of parents, for some reason, don't understand this. Now, onto the story. So, my job is to roam around the lines outside of the attraction to entertain customers while they wait to enter the house. I take pictures with them, scare them, basically put on a show to entertain them. As I'm stalking around, I see a small child in line. Wonderful, someone brought a kid. That means lots of crying. However, the kid made eye contact with me and smiled. Now, we do have the occasional brave kid who actually enjoys it. I assume this was the case. I slowly walk towards her, drooling and putting on my usual zombie show. This girl can't be older than 8. As I get closer, I can see she's getting a bit more uncomfortable, so I back off a bit. I give her a little wave, letting her know I'm friendly and don't want to bother her. She waved back, and her mom turned around to see what she was waving at. She flipped out. She started screaming at me that I was a pervert for looking at her daughter, that I was scaring her and should be ashamed of myself. How dare I scare her daughter? I traumatized her for life, blah, blah, blah. All the while, her daughter is more afraid of her own mother than the zombie in front of her. I lower my voice so no other customer can hear, as I don't want to break character too much. I explained that she paid for her daughter to come in here. We scare people at a haunted house. If she is really that scared, I'd be happy to escort them out. That seemed to make her even more upset, and said I was discriminating her and her daughter just because she's a child. That's when she broke a major rule. She shoved me. I mean shoved. I fell backwards into a big mud puddle. Now, I've been pushed before. Some people just have that reaction when they're scared, and they quickly apologize. I wasn't hurt, just dirty. However, this was on purpose, not an accident. Policy says I have to report it. I went over to the police we have on scene, and they had to escort the mom and daughter off the property. The mom was screaming the whole time about what a ripoff this was. How they have child predators working here, blah, blah, blah. Lesson to all the parents out there, if you bring a kid to a haunted house, be aware that we're going to scare them. It's just our job. Yes, police, I paid these people to scare my daughter, and they scared my daughter, so I want them arrested. That was rSlash Entitledparents, and if you want me to get over this cold, be sure to hit that like button to show me your support, because this head cold is kicking my butt.